Welcome back. Hopefully you've had a really wonderful lunch and were able to pick up some of those great fish tacos from Million Recipes. As a reminder, if you're still joining us on YouTube or Facebook, you are not getting the complete Comfish Alaska 2021 experience. And we just ask that you visit comfishak.com to register and attend this fully interactive event. Attendees using the Hopin platform can go ahead and submit questions during the forums in the forum stage chat, and the moderator will relay those questions to the presenters. I'd now like to introduce our next forum, which is an Alaska Sea Grant panel discussion with Chris Santino, Gabe Dunham, Melissa Goode, and Julie Matweyu. And their presentation is about supporting Alaska's fishing and seafood industries. So I'd like to start off by introducing Julie Matweyu, who is the Alaska Sea Grant Marine Advisory Program agent for the Kodiak Island Archipelago and is based in Kodiak. She holds a master's degree in biological oceanography with a research emphasis on harmful algal blooms. As a MAP agent, Julie Matweyu works to bring relevant training and information to fishermen, engages in community outreach and education activities, and works with local and statewide organizations to sustain healthy coastal ecosystems and marine literacy. Welcome to our Sea Grant panel.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you, Sarah, for the introductions and for hosting Comfish again this year. I'm pleased to be here today with my Sea Grant colleagues, Chris, Gabe, and Melissa, and all of our Comfish participants. As Sarah mentioned, my name is Julie Matweyu, and I'm the Alaska Sea Grant Marine Advisory Program Agent for Kodiak. As Sarah described, I'm a marine scientist by training, but I also have fished commercially in Alaska, primarily in the Aleutians and the Kodiak region. And through my work in the environmental field, I have visited many rural and coastal communities and remote sites across our state. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen and get going on our presentation. Yeah, so let's move something around here. Again, as a general agent, I work with the Kodiak community on a variety of projects related to commercial fishing. I am an AMC instructor, and I've been teaching the drill conductor cold water marine safety classes for Kodiak since 2012. I partner with my colleagues to deliver Sea Grant hosted events statewide. And through my local program, I have organized, hosted, and delivered various informational presentations and events at Comfish and through other local venues. I've also been a member of the Comfish Planning Committee for a number of years, and I want to again thank the Kodiak Chamber of Commerce and thank Sarah and our other planning team members for all of our hard work in organizing this year's trade show. Today, Alaska Sea Grant will be highlighting some of our workforce training and applied programs that support Alaska's seafood and fishing industries. Just to give a little background on Alaska Sea Grant, Alaska Sea Grant is one of 34 Sea Grant programs nationwide. We are a statewide program headquartered at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Sea Grant has been serving Alaska for over 50 years, or for 50 years now this year. We work to support healthy coastal resources, strong economies, and vibrant communities. We do this through research, education, and through outreach via our Marine Advisory Program agents who live and work in our coastal communities. So we're spread across the state and work locally and statewide. Sea Grant has 4 national focus areas. These focus areas are healthy coastal ecosystems, sustainable fisheries and aquaculture, resilient communities and economies, and environmental literacy and workforce development. Because all of our states have different needs, the Sea Grant programs nationwide can look a little different and focus on different topics, but all of our work fall into these broad focus areas. Even in our state, our program can look different depending on the needs in our communities and the expertise of our agents. But throughout our program and throughout our state, the Marine Advisory Program agents and specialists, again, work closely with you, with our stakeholders, to address these topical areas. We do this through collaborative projects, applied research, classes, workshops, trainings, and other methods of technical assistance. Again, today, we're going to be looking at 3 of our large initiatives. And with this, I'm going to turn it over, give the floor to our Marine Advisory Program specialists. I'm going to start off by introducing Chris Sanito. Drop out of screen share here and give a little bit of background on Chris. Chris Sanito has over 25 years of experience in the Alaska seafood industry. In 1995, he earned a Master of Science degree in food science from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Chris has been involved in primary and value-added seafood processing ventures across Alaska with large and small companies. Since 2015, Chris has been recognized as a process authority by the Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation and serves the public with food processing and technical assistance. He currently serves as our seafood technology specialist, and he's based here in Kodiak. Go ahead, Chris.
All right. Thank you, Julie. Do a little screen share. All right. So wanted to start by thanking you for having us this afternoon, and just going to walk through some of the seafood workforce and technical assistance that we offer out of the Kodiak Seafood and Marine Science Center over here in Kodiak on Near Island. So just a couple of statistics. Interesting that the seafood industry in Alaska accounts for 3 out of every 4 manufacturing jobs, which is pretty amazing. Seafood processing also accounts for about 95% of all manufacturing jobs in Alaska. So it's very important for coastal Alaska. It's also estimated harvesting and processing workforce of 70,548, more than oil, gas, and mining combined. These are a little bit older statistics, but I'm sure they're still pretty relevant. So some of the classes that we offer in support of the seafood industry, this is our 2021 schedule. And of course, because of COVID, everything has been kind of put into a online version, which took a little getting used to, but nonetheless, we've maintained our training. So you can see we do offer a smoked seafood school, which goes through commercial smoking, both for commercial operators as well as interested people. We get a lot of different people that attend those classes. We really enjoy doing that in person. Later this week on Friday, we're going to offer a sanitation workshop, which is going to go through the sanitation requirements for running a seafood business and some of the ins and outs of how you manage that and test for different chemical residuals and what have you. Probably one of the most popular of all is the HACCP workshops. HACCP is a food safety system that food processors have to follow to look for hazards in a process and identify the hazards and then decide how you're going to manage those hazards. So another popular class that we do every other year is called the Alaska Seafood Processing Leadership Institute, or ASPLE. And we do that. We go around the state and we look for companies that have kind of mid-level managers that they see promise in, and then we put them through an intensive 2 weeks of training, and we bring in professionals from all over to try to drive in some leadership skills and just a whole bunch of different types of training. But one of those weeks is done here in Kodiak, and the following week is done in Anchorage. And that seems to be a very popular program. Another class that we offer is called Better Process Control School. And that would be for thermal processing, or which would be like canning, or that could be for acidified foods. But anyway, we go through that, and certify people in that. Another thing that we offer out of the Kodiak Seafood and Marine Science Center is technical assistance and product development. And some of you may have been through the building before, but you can see it's very well equipped. It has a large pilot plant, and will host companies in that pilot plant to do pilot scale trials. There's hot and cold smoker, dehydrator, freeze dryer, vacuum packaging, thermal processing, various choppers, grinders. We've got machines to extract fish oil, all kinds of tools over the years that have been purchased and are inventoried in our storage warehouse and in the pilot plant. So a lot of different things we can do. And then outside of the pilot plant into the laboratories, we've got a very well-equipped, actually 3 laboratories in the building. The kind of services that we're offering now in support of product developers are proximate composition. So we could take a food and look at how much protein, moisture, fat, and ash, water activity, heat distribution studies for ovens, water phase salt, pH verification. We've got software to do nutrition labeling, and a lot of tools for pathogen screening. One of the new systems we have is called a molecular detection system for pathogens. And this is a really neat piece of equipment. We're just getting it online this month. So, and then a lot of process evaluations and consultations. And I can just show you some of the recent projects around the state that we've worked on, various barbecue sauces. Some of the seaweed manufacturers have been through the center. We've assisted with seal oil processing, caribou antler tea processing, cold brew coffee, various dehydrated foods, cold smoked salmon, berry processing, ginger beer, rhubarb juice, salmon chips, charcuterie, dried seaweed, tortilla processing, carbonated beverages, and then there's a new meat processor opening in Fairbanks that we've been working with. So they're just getting open, but just wanted to lay that out there. We're very proud of the facility and welcome people to come in and show you around. I've put my contact information on there, and yeah, just a real fun job. I enjoy it. So gonna hand it over now to Gabe, right?
Yeah, and I'll introduce Gabe. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. And again, Chris is here in Kodiak and based at the Kodiak Seafood and Marine Science Center, where I am also based. So we're going to take a look now at our commercial fishing initiatives. Gabe Dunham will be presenting for us here. Gabe Dunham is the Alaska Sea Grant Marine Advisory Program agent for Bristol Bay, and he's also a commercial fisherman in Bristol Bay. Gabe works in Bristol Bay. His work there largely focuses on workforce and economic development in commercial fisheries. Gabe also leads Alaska Sea Grant's Fishbiz team. Our team is a group of agents and specialists around the state that support Alaska's commercial fishing business with business and financial resources and training. So I'm going to kick it over to Gabe. Thanks, Gabe.
All right, thanks a lot, Julie. I'll share my screen here. As Julie said, I'm the Alaska Sea Grant Marine Advisory Program agent and the fisheries business specialist located out here in Bristol Bay. Sorry, one second, let me move things around my screen. I'll be describing some of the Alaska Sea Grant programs that support Alaska's commercial fishing industry, and also towards the end sharing with you all some exciting things that we're working on for the future. So as Julie mentioned a little bit in the introduction here, our Fishbiz program is something that we contribute to collectively as a program across the state. And that's really a collection of information and resources about managing the business side of an Alaska commercial fishing operation. And the website is organized to reflect the 4 major phases of a fishing career. That's beginning the business, excuse me, beginning the business, managing, growing, and exiting the business with information delivered through documents and podcasts and also spreadsheet tools. And let me toggle over there to the Fishbiz website just to show you a few of my favorite resources here in this site. So here's the homepage for the Fishbiz program. If we go over here to the Start Your Business tab and click on that, we can see a number of different resources here. One of my favorite resources here under step 3, where it talks about penciling out your business opportunity. And this resource I want to mention is this pro forma spreadsheet. This is a really useful tool for plotting various what if scenarios in your fishing business and really being able to drill down in some of the expenses and what your take-home profit versus your fixed costs and variable costs look like for your business. Going over to the management tab, we'll click on that. We'll look over here in one of these resources I'll point out is the risk management area. And this gives podcasts on information about things like insurance, marine safety, and things to manage the risk in your fishing business. And over here on the Grow tab, I'll point out this resource that I'll touch on a little bit later too, and that's our resources for fishing business owners that are looking to get into direct marketing. Perhaps they want to get a little bit closer customer experience with their product. Maybe they want to make a little bit more money by taking up 1 or 2 additional roles in that seafood supply chain. But here we have some links for downloading these resources for direct marketing. Then finally, our last tab here is about planning and exit strategy. And I'll point out here under the Looking Ahead link that we have a really great document here on how to make a directed transfer of a fishing business. If that's something that you're looking at, if you're looking at retirement soon from the fishing industry, then this might be a resource that you're interested in. Another resource that we offer is the Alaska Young Fisherman Summit. Now, this is a 3-day network and skill building conference for new or recent commercial fishery entrants. And during this conference, we have we have sessions on business management, marketing, fishery regulatory process, and the science of fishery management, and really focusing along the whole way across those 3 days on creating opportunities for the next generation of fishing business owners to interact with with both each other and also people and entities that are going to influence their livelihood going forward in the industry. Also, a note: our next one is coming up on December of 2021, and my last slide, I'll show you a link to our events page where you can keep track of the various events, including the Young Fisherman Summit that'll be coming up. As I mentioned briefly during my discussion on the Fishbiz website, we do have some resources for direct marketers. We have a 5-session online class that features direct marketers and features direct marketing regulations, marketing itself, business planning, and product quality. And each of those subjects is a class session in and of itself. And with the 5th session, including presentations, or special guest direct marketers that join to share their business story and offer tips to those starting out. So along with the class, we also have a publication called the Fisherman's Direct Marketing Manual that we developed together with a Washington Sea Grant, and that provides 14 chapters of information on direct marketing. So it's pretty exhaustive, including numerous appendices that cover subjects like HACCP, refrigeration, regulations, and things like that. So the Direct Marketing Manual is a really great resource. So coming up, we've got some exciting developments. One thing that we're putting together, and I believe starting in FY22, is a new workshop we're calling the Business of Fishing. And this workshop is essentially going to take the business session from the Young Fisherman Summit and make that into an entire 1-day workshop. And that's going to be administered in communities, coastal communities throughout Alaska. And this 1-day workshop is going to focus on things like business finance and management and taxes and risk management, and really not even just talking about not just giving lectures, but actually diving deep into those subjects and doing things like tutorials and activities associated with really helping people understand how to do these things for their business. And if they have an understanding of these things already, sort of hone their skills along the way. The other thing that we're pretty excited about is crew training. You know, all these resources leading up until that I've been talking about, leading up until this point, are really focused on beginning or current entrance to fishing business ownership, and that acknowledges or assumes the fact that they've already entered the business or had some start in the business before. And the crew class or the Alaska crew class is really about providing training to the very entry level of fishery participation in the industry. And I'm talking about giving skills like hands-on skills to crew members that perhaps either haven't ever been on a boat, or maybe they're just starting their second season on a boat, and people that really need those hands-on skills, whether they're fishery specific or general deckhand skills. But also we talk about things such as self-management, how to manage your finances, how to bring the right things with you on the boat to go fishing so that you're prepared, things like that. And also, of course, rolling that all in together with what Julie mentioned earlier, and our capacity to teach marine safety and work with the Alaska Marine Safety Education Association to deliver marine safety in the state of Alaska. All right, and as I mentioned, my last slide too also includes this link here at the bottom. If you want to keep apprised of Alaska Sea Grant events, just go to this website. It's Alaska Sea Grant, one word, .org/events, and you'll see all the neat things we have coming up, and you'll also be able to take a look and see what the things we've done in the recent past as well. So that's it for me. I'll hand it back to you, Julie.
Thank you, Gabe. That's awesome. Yeah, it's really great to be part of this Fishbiz working team. And again, we all work collaboratively in our program, and it's pretty fun to be part of this this group. I'm going to turn our attentions and introduce Melissa Goode. Melissa is Alaska Sea Grant's Americulture specialist. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Natural Resource Management and a Master's of Science in Marine Biology. Has a background in outreach and extension work in fisheries management, nearshore ecology, and seaweed biology. Melissa is actively working with community members, industry, Alaska Native tribes, seafood processors, community leaders, and regulators to promote mariculture in Alaska. And I will let Melissa describe her recent efforts in this field.
All right, thank you, Julie. Just give me 1 second while I share my screen here. And thank you everyone for attending our panel and for inviting us here to speak. My name is Melissa Goode, as Julie said, and I'm the Americulture Specialist for Alaska Sea Grant. I'm new into this position and I'm new to Kodiak. However, I'm not new to Alaska Sea Grant. I previously was the Marine Advisory Program agent out of Unalaska Dutch Harbor. My role started focusing a lot more on mariculture, and because of the growing need across the state, we decided to revamp my position to focus on mariculture only and serve that statewide purpose, thus the move to Kodiak. And myself and my family are very happy to be here. So I'm going to talk to you today about the mariculture projects that we have going on currently, and then a couple that have recently wrapped up, but just so you have an idea of what we've been working on. The first one, which is currently active, is the Alaska Sea Grant Shellfish and Seaweed Growers Project. This started last year, about May, but it really stemmed out of the need that was coming from the mariculture industry, which is mostly oyster and seaweed growers here in Alaska, but the effects that COVID-19 was having on them with the shutdown of the tourism industry and a lot of the restaurants, which is where most of the products were going. This project so far, we've developed a directory where you can go to our website and you can look where you can find locally sourced grown oysters and seaweeds, and that has those farm contacts and also a retailer directory as well. We've also done some other promotional videos for mariculture. We have a barbecuing oyster video and an intro to Meet the Farmer, which is Meta Mestag, a farmer out of Juneau, Alaska. We've also developed some recipe cards as well that can be found on our website. And something that we have coming up that we're super excited about is a virtual Oyster and Seaweed Festival, and that's going to occur May 17th through 20th. And I will be sitting at our Alaska Sea Grant booth after this. And so if you'd like to learn more about that virtual festival, please reach out to me or see our booth after this. Another project that is on hold because of COVID is establishing a pilot seaweed farm in Sandpoint along the Alaska Peninsula. This farm is going to serve as a workforce training farm and to support the communities within the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutian Islands region. That project was on hold because of COVID, but things are starting to open up and hopefully we can start this project back up again here this summer. We also are part of a national effort, the National Sea Grant Seaweed Hub. This is a topic-based hub to serve as a central clearinghouse for available science-based, non-proprietary practical resources related to seaweed aquaculture across the nation. This project started up with a seaweed symposium and needs assessment last year, fortunately right before things started shutting down. And through that needs assessment, we got a kind of high level overview of what's needed across the nation. Through that, we built 4 different stakeholder groups that are focusing on regulation, marketing, processing, and farm grow out systems. These stakeholder working groups are currently meeting and will meet for the next year and a half to develop products out of that. Anyone is welcome to join these stakeholder working groups. There's not a lot of time commitment, but we do ask if you do want to commit that you commit for the remainder of the project. And if you'd like to learn more about that, please visit seaweedhub.org or feel free to reach out to myself as well. And we can talk about it in more detail and what we're hoping to get out of this project. A project that recently wrapped up is a global kelp asset map. This was in partnership with the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, Alaska Fisheries Development Foundation, and the Denali Commission. This asset map is a report that we will have out soon, and it's looking at the kelp farms across the world. Where is kelp growing? How much are they growing? How are they processing it for what forms? We'll get this report out hopefully this summer. And there's also a spreadsheet that goes along with that to highlight what the world is doing as far as seaweed farms go, focusing in on kelp specifically. Another project in partnership with that is a market assessment for manufacturing and sales of Alaska seaweed. There's some marketing assessments that are going on to the Alaska Fisheries Development Foundation in partnership. And what Alaska Sea Grant is really focusing on is identifying technology and equipment that's being used globally for the primary processing and manufacturing of large volumes of seaweed. And that project is currently ongoing. We have another project between Alaska Sea Grant, Washington Sea Grant, Oregon Sea Grant, California Sea Grant. And this is an alliance for us Sea Grant programs to all work together, looking at fisheries, seafood, and aquaculture, and seeing what programs we can share between each other and what programs and products we can create that will benefit the entire West Coast in these different topical areas. Another project that we are standing up, the Alaska Americulture Task Force was stood up by Governor Walker in 2016 to help move the mariculture industry in Alaska forward. That task force is going to sunset here in June of 2021. Coming out of that will be the Alaska Americulture Alliance and the Alaska Americulture Research and Training Center. And the Alaska Americulture Research and Training Center, it's not a brick and mortar center, but more of a conceptual center. And Alaska Sea Grant's going to be leading that as well. And through the center, we'll be coordinating training and research efforts across the state. So not all of these programs or efforts will be coming out of Alaska Sea Grant, but we will be coordinating so that way the industry, researchers, and other stakeholders are all working together to move the industry forward and not duplicating efforts. We recently wrapped up a project doing seaweed farm startup training. workshops. The first one was in 2020. We had one that was held live here in Kodiak, as well as Ketchikan and Sitka, and there were 16 attendees to each of those, and this was a hands-on training on how to start up a seaweed farm. Because of COVID and our inability to meet face-to-face, this year we held that workshop virtually in February, where we had 130 attendees through our technical workshop that was several days long. One benefit was that we could reach a lot more stakeholders, but we're really hoping to have more trainings here in the future with more hands-ons as things open up and we can work face-to-face more. We recently received funding for business and economic planning for seaweed aquaculture systems in the United States. Through this program, we'll also be developing Alaska-specific economic tools for seaweed growers. And this one is just starting. Quentin Fong, who's with the Alaska Sea Grant here in Kodiak, is lead on that, and I'll be working on it as well. And hopefully here in a couple years, we'll be conducting face-to-face workshops, teaching people how to use these planning tools that are developed through this. Another project that Quentin Fong recently received funding for is Characterization of Aquaculture in the Western United States. This one's just starting up, so you'll have to reach out to him to get some more details on that. But basically helping to show the rest of the nation and the world what aquaculture looks like in Western United States. We also have Alaska Sea Grant Americulture Fellow who's working on a permitting guidance portal for mariculture operators. So this is for all applicants in the mariculture industry, so shellfish or seaweed, as finfish farming is illegal in the state of Alaska. And so that permitting portal will hopefully be live this summer to fall timeframe. Gary Freytag, our agent in Ketchikan, is working with the communities of Metlakatla and Ketchikan on a pilot scale macroalgae farm. And then of course we have Chris Sanito, our seafood processing specialist, who you just heard from. We have a potential for projects here in the future. We have proposals submitted to look at virtual reality for seaweed hatcheries, outplanting and harvesting, developing some farm site monitoring kits. And then we put a lot of effort in recently into some Exxon Valdez Oil Spill Trustee Council funds for mariculture research projects and outreach and extension. And with that, I'll end. Please feel free to reach out to me through email. I'm on maternity leave currently, so it might take me a little bit of time to get back to you, but I will get back to you. And I will open that up to the rest of the panel, I guess.
Thank you, Missy. Yeah, thanks everyone for your participation here. And I think we're going to open up the floor for questions. Sarah with the chamber is going to help us moderate questions since she's looking at the hop-in platform. And Sarah, do you see anything coming through?
At this point in time, we don't have any questions that have come through. However, we do have a little bit of a lag time between our presentation and what our audience hears. And so we'll go ahead and just remind everyone at this point in time that if you have a question for the panel, please go ahead and enter that question into the chat panel on the forum stage, or you're able to enter that question into the Q&A area. And so we do have our first question from Andy Wink. This one is for Melissa. Can you comment on the capacity to dry and grind kelp in Alaska and the markets for dried, powder, or flake products?
So currently with the seaweed industry across the nation, we have a couple of major bottlenecks. One of those first bottlenecks being processing. We're not doing a lot of large scale processing currently. Most of the drying that is being done with seaweeds is occurring on the East Coast, and a lot of that drying is being done in a greenhouse style facilities, and so they're air drying. Also, one of the next bottlenecks is the marketing aspect of it. We have a lot of seaweed products on the market. Seaweed is eaten across the nation. However, 95% or so of the seaweed that is consumed in the United States is being imported in, and it's going into different products. Certainly the nori sheets, which we see on our sushi rolls or as snacks, are really popular. However, the price point for those is not really something that we are meeting right now. It's relatively inexpensive for other countries to develop these products where we're brand new into it, and certainly our production costs are a lot higher. And so right now, that is where a lot of the work is going into, is trying to figure out how we can process seaweed efficiently, because certainly our power needs are much more expensive than a lot of places. Transportation, kind of all those steps are a little bit more expensive, especially here in Alaska. So that's what these projects are looking at. How much can we process? What kind of equipment can we use? And we're still trying to figure that out. And then what is that market going to look like? We really need new products going out onto the market that are highlighting Alaska grown products and new products as well. And so Chris Nino has done a couple of really cool pilot projects so far. He has developed some tortillas that have seaweed flakes in it. And so as far as numbers go, it's not really something that I can comment on now, but it's something that we are hoping to in the near future.
Yeah, and I wanted to follow up and ask Chris to pipe in, because he has done some work here in Kodiak on seafood or seaweed processing.
Sure. So, yeah, I heard the question about the chopper. We have identified a very capable kelp chopper, and we just happen to have one of those in the pilot plant. It's called a Urschel chopper, and it's used in many vegetable industries. It dices potatoes, carrots, coleslaw, and it's like a 75 horsepower motor, and it just eats up the kelp really nice too. And was thinking of showing you a really quick clip of that. I have one on my desktop. If you're interested, I could play it. But
go for it.
Yeah, it's it might be a bit of a stretch to pull that up. I can't quite figure out how to find my so nix that.
But yeah, again, you can reach out to any of us and talk to us offline. And Chris has done a lot of work. We're here in Kodiak, and I've seen some interesting seaweed products moving through, as well as really cool seafood processing products that Chris are working on. So,
and Chris and I are working on a publication this spring that is going to step people through some primary processing steps, and we'll have lists of this equipment that is being used and that Chris has experimented with in that publication guide. And feel free to reach out to myself or Chris, and we can get your contact information. That way, when these publications do come out, we can make sure that you get a copy of them right away. Or visit our Sea Grant website.
We do have just a few more minutes left for questions. And so again, any attendees, please make sure that you send those questions in through the chat or the Q&A portion. But while we wait for any additional questions to come through, I know some people will be watching this as a recorded video. And so if you can just let everyone know the best way that they can ask any of those questions to you outside this program.
Yeah, I wanted to take a moment to share our website with the group. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and direct folks to our website. Give me a moment here. A lot of the events, of course, that we are talking about are listed. I'm not sure. We're not on Sea Grant, are we? Having a little bit of trouble directing. There we go. Okay, so if you find us on alaskaseagrant.org, you'll get to our main site, and there you can navigate around our site. I showed a screenshot of this, our work, the different things that we focus on. You can navigate to our different research, our research projects. You can look at our education products and look at our different programs that we have, as well as fellowships and internship opportunities. You can also navigate to our bookstore and takes you to all of our resources, some of which have been mentioned here. I wanted to call out too that we currently have a Comfish discount going on. And if you visit us at our booth following this presentation, or if you go to the Alaska Sea Grant bookstore and enter Comfish 2021, you'll get a 20% discount to our products. Gabe mentioned, and I believe Chris did too, our event page. You can navigate to our events and you can look at all of our upcoming events, including the seafood processing workshops that Chris highlighted. It's also, I'm hosting right now the Kodiak Area Marine Science Symposium. We have a policy forum going on, COVID webinars happening, and again, more seafood safety training. I wanted also just to call our attention to the marine safety training that we talked about. Going to the AMC website, you can look at the commercial fishing safety training available, and I'll be offering 2 classes in May. Again, with COVID, we've had a lot of slowdowns and difficulty getting back into in-person training, but please check out our site as well as Marine Safety if you're looking for commercial fishing vessel safety training. Back to Alaska Sea Grant, please join us here. And again, the best way to contact us is to go to this site, and you can find our Marine Advisory Program agents through the link, Marine Advisory link, and you can find us all there. So I'll stop sharing here and get back. But we have a lot of resources. We're here. Myself, Melissa, and Chris are here in Kodiak, as well as Quentin Fong, and Gabe's out in Dillingham and offering a lot of awesome work out to his community. So anything else our panelists want to add?
Julie, I did want to say I do have that
Okay, cool.
kelp chopper there. That's it. Okay. So
Is that
yeah,
dry?
very capable. That's wet. That's blanched seaweed, so it doesn't even slow down in that type of machine. So very capable, and that'll dice it to a very fine grind. But we're actually looking to do it a little bit finer than that, even to make a slurry is what the customer is asking for. So.
Well, thank you so much. It looks like we only have about a minute left here. So if there's any final thoughts that any of you would like to share, this is a great time to do that.
I guess final thought, visit us at the Comfish booth. We've been manning a booth, and thanks for joining us. And thank you, Gabe, Missy, and Chris for being part of this panel.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. So thank you to our entire Sea Grant panel for your time and your efforts today, and of course every day. The support that you provide to the fishing industry is really critical, and I know we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Sarah.
Of course, we'll be back at 2:15 for our final presentation, the Alaska Fisheries Science Center update and crab research at the Near Island NOAA Lab. Of course, the presentation you just heard and the rest you will hear today and yesterday wouldn't have been possible without the generosity of our sponsors, which are listed below this presentation. So please help us by supporting them. We'll see you at 2:15.